final stop in Spain and Portugal in 2023. So I didn't actually have a lot of footage for Madrid. As it was our last stop, we were a little tired and we didn't feel like doing a lot of the touristy stuff, even though there's not a huge amount of touristy stuff to do in Madrid. So we decided just to take it slow, do a bit of shopping, and just relax on our last few days in Europe 2023. So I've been putting off this video for a while just because I don't have a lot of footage, but I will still talk through what we did there, and I have a lot of photos to show kind of what was around anyway. So we arrived in Madrid from Porto by car, and as it was our last stop of our road trip in Spain and Portugal, we were dropping off the car. We chose to drop off the car just outside of the city of Madrid, and the hire car office closed at 3 p.m, which we didn't know at the time, but it meant it was a very stressful drive. You probably may not know this, but Portugal is an hour behind Spain, so driving into Spain would mean we'd lose an hour. So we had to leave very early in the morning, and it also takes 6 hours to drive from Porto to Madrid, accounting for a bit of traffic as well. So we actually didn't really have any time to stop at all. So we drove pretty much flat out the whole time. We, I think, only stopped for maybe fuel, and we ate on the road. So we made it 10 minutes to 3. We dropped off the car, but after that we just wanted to get to our accommodation, so we caught an Uber into the city centre. We also just had way too much luggage to catch public transport. We arrived in Lavapis, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, which is a pretty central neighbourhood in Madrid. It is spread out over steep medieval streets, and it is a pretty multicultural area. When we arrived to our Airbnb, we noticed high security doors at the entrance of the apartment building and a very thick door to our apartment. We were on the 4th floor with no lift and these uneven timber steps. And aside from taking the luggage up and down, we didn't mind the lack of lift. Apparently the area that we were staying in can be a little sketchy at night, but in our time there, we didn't really venture out at night, although as it did get a bit closer to dark, I did feel slightly a weird vibe in the area and probably wouldn't have loved going out on my own after dark. It doesn't mean it's not safe, it's just how I felt at the time. So we also had a supermarket nearby, which was, I think, open 24 hours, and it had everything. It was probably the largest supermarket we had access to while we were overseas, and it was very convenient and cheap. This area just had a lot of places to buy groceries, so we didn't actually eat out much. Also, it was getting to the end of our trip, so we were just craving some home-cooked meals. The area near the supermarket and metro station, which was just across the road, was always very busy, and it appeared to have a lot of people loitering with some dodgy vibes. We were so exhausted that night, so we just made a quick dinner and stayed in. So our first full day in Madrid, we had planned to visit the home stadium of Real Madrid, the Bernabeu stadium. This was very high on Stav's list, and it was something he was most excited for. So to get there, we used the very well connected and most efficient metro I have used. So we got to tour the club rooms and even got to witness construction. By the time of our visit, the stadium was undergoing a 1.3 billion euro renovation, which included the retractable roof. So we actually watched as they lifted the panels into place, which was pretty cool, coming from an engineering background. There was also a large fan shop which we got to visit. However, a lot of the official kits were very expensive, so we just decided to have a look and then leave. The rest of the day in Madrid was pretty relaxed, with coffee and cake at Alchemy Speciality coffee to give us energy in the warm Madrid weather. Even though it was already mid-October, it was still quite warm. We actually decided just to go back to the Airbnb after this. So we just stayed in for a few hours in the afternoon and then decided to head back out in the early evening. So my main aim in Madrid was to do a bit of shopping because I hadn't really done a lot in the previous places we'd been to. We first visited a store that I have had saved for so many years, and it really did not disappoint. I mainly wanted to go there for the shoes, and it's where I got to buy my first pair of Carrel shoes, which I was just so excited for. They are a French brand made in Italy, but this is just the first store I've been able to actually see them in person, so I was really keen. And also they're a bit cheaper than the online stores and in Australia. So I finally actually got to purchase a pair, and we kept looking through shops, but I did feel a little poor after this, so I didn't really intend to spend much more that day. So another area we wandered around included Justica, which is a trendy upscale central neighbourhood of Madrid, and it's known for its 19th century architecture, vibrant art galleries and boutique shopping. It was a little busier in this area, so we spent a little bit of time, but wish we could have spent a lot more time. So by this stage it was about 7 p.m, which is not yet dinner time in Spain. But again, we were at the end of our 6-week trip, so we were tired and craving veggies. So we made a trip back to the 24-hour supermarket and we made a roasted quinoa salad. And we just ended up spending the night in, relaxing again and planning a route for the last day in Madrid. Our last full day in Madrid, I had planned for it to be mostly a shopping and slow day. We again did a bit of a split day, so spending some time in the morning shopping along Gran Via and then visiting Puerto del Sol, which is or Gate of the Sun. This is Madrid's most famous central and bustling public square, and it kind of serves as a symbolic heart of the city of Spain, because actually Madrid is in the center of the country. It is renowned for Kilometre Zero, for all Spanish roads. We're both a bit over the touristy sites and not fully appreciating it, particularly all the touristy souvenir shops. So we decided to take refuge in the nearby El Corte Inglés, which is a department store. I think they're in Barcelona as well, but we visited, I think, at least 3 of these in our time in Madrid, each of them having a great selection of Spanish and international brands. Usually I'm not a fan of department stores. However, I was on a mission to find this Spanish brand, Augusta, which is a shoe brand as well. I did not have any luck finding the shoes I wanted, so I was feeling a little defeated. We ended up heading back to our Airbnb to take refuge from the warm afternoon sun and then also eat our leftover veggies from the night before. So we ended up back on the metro again and went to El Viso, which based on vibes alone was one of my favourite neighbourhoods in Madrid. It consists of mainly residential detached houses and is currently the wealthiest neighbourhood in Madrid, and you can see why. It's really honestly beautiful. We wouldn't have actually ventured here if I wasn't planning to visit this store. So another shoe store, because apparently I was in the mood for shoes at the time, was Cayumas. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right either. It's a handmade Italian frullane, which is a type of shoe, and it's like a handcrafted Venetian slipper which originates from Italy. And they just, I don't know, they've been on my list for a long time, and I just spotted them a lot, and they seem to be around a lot in Spain for some reason. So I just happened to find this store was in Madrid, and so we went and visited it. Our final and my favourite stop of Madrid was El Retiro Park. The weather was perfect at this time of, I think it was around like 6 p.m. and we just enjoyed people watching as people were coming, going, finishing work, people having after work drinks, and just taking a bit of time to relax in the park, which is my favourite part about a city, just observing people just happy, I guess. And we just enjoyed the people watching and strolling through the park. We also admired the Palacio de Cristal, which is a 19th century conservatory, and the I'm just gonna put it here, Palace, which is an 1880s structure that is also used as an exhibition hall. So both of these buildings in the park are just so beautiful and just make a beautiful backdrop for photos as well over the around the big lake. I usually don't like to eat out the night before a long haul flight, so we decided just to, again, go to the 24-hour supermarket and make dinner. This time we just had pasta with broccoli, very simple. And we didn't really want to have a late night because we had to be at the airport or leave. We had to leave the accommodation by 6 a.m. because I think our flight was at 9 or a little bit before that. So we just spent our night packing and getting ready to leave Europe. Unfortunately, in Madrid, we didn't really see any of the art galleries or museums, but I guess there's a reason to come back next time. I actually think Madrid is a great place to go if you want to avoid large touristy crowds. It was probably the least touristy place we went to in Spain and Portugal. Even though it is the capital, you really can get away from the tourists, and that could be because we were also there in October, but it probably is the best time for weather because it's still warm, but the nights get a bit cooler, it's a bit more mild. So it's a really good time to visit, in my opinion, because I know it can get extremely hot. My sister went there recently and she was there, I think, in July, and it was like 40 degrees and really uncomfortable. So yeah, I think October's a great time to visit. It also just feels like a local city where actually people do live. And I know like you can find that in a lot of other places, but in comparison to somewhere like Barcelona, which at the time of our visit felt extremely touristy. So it is the less touristy Spanish city. It was probably the city that I felt like I could work in. It just seemed like it had slight, corporate culture. And the place I was working at the time had 2 offices in Madrid, so that was something I actually did consider, but I think of course then you have to speak the language, so that was just something I gave up on pretty quick. But yeah, I think it was a good little stop and I'm glad we went there, and it was probably the best place to fly out of because the Madrid airport is super modern, fairly efficient I think, and yeah, it was just quite an enjoyable experience. The funniest part was we were catching our Uber to the airport, and which we had pre-booked the night before because we were a bit worried that we weren't going to get one at 6 a.m. And as we were driving past, we were driving past a lot of nightclubs, it was a Friday night or early Saturday morning, and it was just funny because people were just still out, like it was I don't know 1 a.m. in Australia, I guess. And it's just so funny to see as we were getting up ready for the day, people were just wrapping up their day, getting fast food from a big night out. So just a funny observation. Our final stop of this trip was Doha in Qatar, and we were going there for the Formula One. So I will see you in the next video for our last stop of our 2023 overseas adventure of 6 weeks.